What if you woke up tomorrow in a world ruled by beings hundreds of times your size? Imagine stepping outside your door, only to find footprints the size of swimming pools carved into the earth. Picture looking up at towering figures whose shadows eclipse the sun, whose voices shake the ground like thunder. Their mere presence fills you with a primordial terror that lives deep in your DNA. This isn't science fiction. According to ancient texts from across the plain, from the Hebrew scriptures to Greek mythology, there was once an age when giants walked the earth. The Bible calls them the Nephilim. The Greeks knew them as the Titans. The Celts spoke of the Fomorians. But these weren't the gentle giants of fairy tales. They were predators. And you would have been prey. So why wouldn't you survive the age of giants? Let's find out. Imagine you wake up in that age, your eyes open, but something feels wrong. The ground beneath you trembles rhythmically, like a massive heartbeat. You sit up, confused, only to realize these aren't heartbeats. They are footsteps. You stumble to your window, but as you look outside, terror grips you. The landscape has changed. Every tree looks like a twig. Every hill seems flattened. And in the distance, moving slowly toward your settlement, are shadows that stretch across the horizon like moving mountains. The Hebrew Bible calls them Nephilim. Genesis 6:4 describes them clearly. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. But as you watch these titanic figures approach, one thing becomes crystal clear. They weren't just warriors of renown. To you, they are executioners. According to the Book of Enoch, these weren't just large humans. They were abominations, hybrid creatures born from the union of fallen angels and human women. The text describes them as being 300 cubits in height. Using a standard estimate, we're talking about 450 feet tall. As one of these creatures draws near your settlement, you realize what that actually means. You crane your neck upward, but you can't even see where this being ends. Its foot is larger than your entire village. When it takes a single step, the ground shakes so violently that you're thrown to your knees. You try to run, but where? In a world built by and for giants, there's nowhere to hide. These giants weren't content to coexist with humanity. According to ancient sources, they were insatiable. The Book of Enoch states that they consumed all the acquisitions of men. When that wasn't enough, they began eating humans themselves. As you crouch behind what used to be your home, you watch in horror as massive fingers, each thicker than tree trunks, begin plucking people from the ruins. Your neighbors, your friends, your family. They are lifted effortlessly, examined like insects, and then disappear into a mouth so vast you could walk into it, standing upright. This is your new reality. You are not just small, you are food. Let's say you somehow survive that first encounter. Maybe the giant was distracted, or maybe you found a crack deep enough to hide in. Now you face an even more terrifying prospect. How do you live day to day in a world that wasn't built for you? You need food, but the crops that once fed your village are now trampled into the earth by footsteps larger than houses. The few grains that remain are scattered across miles of devastated landscape. Gathering them would mean exposing yourself in the open for hours, hours when another giant might appear on the horizon. You need shelter, but look around. Every structure in this world is built to accommodate beings whose scale you can barely comprehend. Doorways tower above you, like cathedral entrances. The stairs are carved from single blocks of stone, each step taller than you are. Across the globe, we find massive stone structures that mainstream archaeology struggles to explain. The trilithons at Stonehenge, the foundation stones at Baalbek, some weighing over 800 tons. The precision-cut blocks at Puma Punku in Bolivia, fitted together so perfectly that you can't slide a knife blade between them. Modern engineers admit they couldn't build these structures today, even with advanced machinery. But now you understand why they exist. They were built by and for beings who could handle 800-ton stones, like you handle a coffee cup. You need water. The wells and fountains of this giant world are so deep and wide that approaching them is like standing at the edge of a cliff. The containers used to draw water are larger than bathtubs and weigh more than cars. Even if you could reach the water, how would you lift a bucket designed for hands the size of your entire body? In Lebanon, the ancient site of Baalbek contains the largest worked stone blocks in the world. The Temple of Jupiter sits on a foundation of stones, each weighing 800 tons. But even more mysterious are the unfinished stones in the nearby quarry. Blocks weighing up to 1,200 tons, cut with precision that defies explanation. As you wander through these giant-built cities, every tool you encounter is impossibly large. Hammers that weigh as much as cars, cups that could serve as swimming pools, weapons that you couldn't even budge, let alone wield. You're not just small in this world, you're utterly helpless. And that's when you realize the horrifying truth. You weren't meant to survive here. You were meant to serve, or be consumed. But let's say you've managed to find food, water, and some form of shelter in the crevices of this giant world. Now comes the truly terrifying part, dealing with the rulers themselves. Genesis 6:11 tells us, "The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence." The Hebrew word used here for violence is Hamas, meaning not just killing, but cruelty, oppression, and the complete absence of justice. Picture your typical morning routine in this nightmare world. You wake up, if you manage to sleep through the constant rumbling of giant footsteps, and immediately check the horizon for massive silhouettes. But then you hear it. A sound like thunder, but rhythmic. Laughter. Giant laughter echoing across the landscape, like the voice of God. It's getting closer. According to the scriptures, these beings fill the earth with violence. As the laughter grows louder, you realize with horror what's happening. They're playing a game, and you're the game piece. You run, but your tiny legs can only carry you so far. The ground shakes with each massive footstep behind you, each one covering more distance than you could run in minutes. You dive behind a boulder just as a shadow falls over you. A shadow cast by a being so tall you can't see its head. A voice booms above you, speaking in a language that sounds like landslides and thunder. You don't understand the words, but the tone is clear. Amusement. To this creature, your desperate flight is entertainment. A massive hand reaches down, a hand larger than your entire hiding place. Fingers thicker than tree trunks, probe the area around your rock, toying with you, letting you think you might escape before cutting off your route. This isn't hunting. This is play.